What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Ilia recently spoke in an interview about who he wants next, and his answer immediately caught attention. When asked about his ideal opponent, Ilia said that Paddy Pimblett is the fight he has on his mind right now. He made it clear that he likes the matchup and believes it's a fight that could happen if the UFC decides to move in that direction. Ilia explained that if the UFC won't allow him to move up to welterweight to face Islam, then he wants them to seriously consider creating a pound-for-pound title. He said he would love to fight Islam at a catchweight of 160 pounds, calling it a matchup that showcases skills across divisions. For Ilia, fighting Islam isn't just about another belt, it's about proving something bigger, and he believes a pound-for-pound title would reflect that. He added that there's already a date in the summer when the UFC is planning to move him up to welterweight, which would set the stage for him to chase a third belt. Ilia said that whether it's the new pound-for-pound title, the welterweight belt, or a fight with Paddy, he's open to all possibilities. According to him, there are plenty of options on the table, and he's ready for whichever direction the UFC chooses. For now, he's keeping an eye on Paddy, waiting to see how things unfold, and prepared to step in against anyone the promotion puts in front of him. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news. After the interview clip began circulating online, Arman reacted almost immediately. He took to X and posted a short but direct message aimed at Ilia. Arman wrote, "Could it be any more obvious that El Pato is doing everything in his power to avoid fighting me?" His response made it clear that he believes Ilia is intentionally steering away from a matchup with him. The comment quickly gained traction, with fans jumping into the discussion and debating whether Ilia is avoiding the fight or simply weighing his options for the next stage of his career. Moving on to another news, Ilia shared his honest reaction to JDM's performance against Islam Makhachev, and he didn't hold back. Ilia said he was disappointed not only in Islam's approach to the fight, but even more in how JDM showed up on fight night. According to Ilia, the former champion looked like he didn't want to be there at all. He explained that right from the start, JDM seemed to offer almost no resistance, appearing flat, hesitant, and completely out of rhythm. Ilia felt that JDM wasn't fighting with urgency or confidence, and it was surprising to him because he expected a far more competitive performance from someone who had held the belt. Ilia then went on to criticize Islam for what he called the same boring style that he always brings. He pointed out that Islam did exactly what he usually does: take the safest route possible, hold dominant positions, and drain the pace of the fight without giving fans the excitement they look for. Ilia said Islam doesn't care about putting on a show, and instead sticks to the kind of slow, grinding strategy that frustrates both opponents and the audience. Still, he admitted that Islam got the job done and became the welterweight champion, but he made it clear he wasn't impressed. What really stood out was Ilia's confidence about what would happen if he and Islam ever stepped inside the octagon together. Ilia said he hopes the fight happens sooner rather than later, because he believes fans would finally see Islam pushed into desperation. He explained that Islam would be scrambling for dominant positions, trying to slow things down, and struggling to catch his breath under pressure. Ilia insisted that he would enter that matchup full of energy, sharpness, and intent, bringing the kind of pace that forces Islam into uncomfortable situations. Ilia ended by saying he is certain of how their fight would play out. In his words, he would put Islam to sleep. He believes the moment they meet, the difference in intensity, aggression, and mindset would become obvious. For Ilia, it's not just about winning, it's about showing the world that Islam's style can be broken, and that he is the one capable of doing it. Moving on to another news, Arman opened up about a major mistake he made before his fight with Dan Hooker at UFC Qatar. He explained that during their face-off, he ended up headbutting Dan, and looking back, he realizes it was completely his fault. Arman said he shouldn't have done that, but in those first few seconds of intense adrenaline, he sometimes can't control himself, and that's what makes situations like that a little dangerous. He admitted he was genuinely surprised by how Dan handled it. According to Arman, Dan could have easily stepped back, claimed he was hurt, taken his show money, and walked away to prepare for another fight. Instead, Dan chose to go through with it, proving his toughness and professionalism. Arman said he respects him a lot for that, adding that it showed real courage and heart, and he sincerely appreciates the way Dan stood his ground. Moving on to another news, Arman went off on Paddy Pimblett's sudden rise in the UFC lightweight rankings, and he did it during his appearance on the Ariel Helwani show. Arman was clearly frustrated after seeing Paddy jump to the number 5 spot, especially because Arman doesn't believe Paddy has beaten the type of competition that deserves such a ranking. He pointed out that Paddy only holds wins over fighters ranked 12 and 13, Michael Chandler and King Green, and argued that those victories alone shouldn't catapult anyone into the top 5. Arman said there's no way the UFC should be giving Paddy that ranking, and he believes fans are laughing at the situation. He reminded everyone that he's the #1 contender and has proven himself again and again. He recalled how he went out there, dominated, and destroyed Dan Hooker, yet the UFC still boosted someone he considers unproven. Arman questioned how beating lower-ranked opponents suddenly elevates a fighter to number 5, especially when he had to grind through multiple tough matchups and a long winning streak just to break into the top 15. To him, it feels completely unfair, and he thinks the UFC is artificially inflating Paddy's ranking. Arman continued by calling out Ilia for what he sees in activity, noting that Ilia hasn't competed since June. He believes the UFC is protecting Ilia, trying to build him into a superstar while keeping him away from dangerous fighters like himself. According to Arman, Ilia needs to defend his belt before considering a move up to welterweight, because no champion should leave a division without proving themselves first. He accused Ilia of looking for easy fights, hoping to defend the title against favorable matchups, rather than stepping in with the real threats. Arman insisted that the UFC wants Ilia to rise in popularity, but that doesn't change the reality inside the octagon. He said Ilia still has to prove he's a true champion by accepting challenges from legitimate contenders. In Arman's view, a fighter can't claim greatness or chase super fights without defending their belt against the very best in their own division. He ended his comments by saying Ilia needs to accept his call-out, defend his title properly, and show the world that he's willing to face real competition before moving anywhere else. Moving on to another news, Robert Whittaker weighed in on Paddy Pimblett's rapid rise and whether he's truly ready for a lightweight title shot. He explained that none of this changes the reality that Arman's UFC resume is far more established than Paddy's, which may be why Whittaker believes Paddy still needs more experience before jumping into a championship fight. Speaking on the MMA Arcade podcast, Whittaker said he'd like to see Paddy face someone like Max Holloway, because matchups like that push a contender toward the title in a meaningful way. Whittaker added that he genuinely wants Paddy to reach that level, noting that his growth has been exponential. He praised Paddy's recent performance against Jenkins, saying Paddy dismantled him with confidence and precision. He also highlighted how, in the previous fight, Paddy showed a new sense of focus and maturity, proving he's dialing in on what he needs to do to evolve as a contender. Whittaker acknowledged that matchups like Oliveira versus Paddy would be wild, and even a rematch with someone like Holloway 2 would generate massive excitement. Still, he insisted that the most logical next step is Arman versus Paddy, and if it happens, he'd love to see Paddy face Oliveira down the road. Moving on to another news, Arman issued a heated warning to Ilia during a recent interview recorded while he was flying in his private jet. His tone was calm, but the message was anything but subtle. Arman made it clear that if he ever steps into the octagon with Ilia, he plans to bring a level of violence that leaves no doubt about who the better fighter is. He said he wants to overwhelm Ilia with relentless pressure, take him down, and unload sharp elbows until the fight can't continue. Arman explained that his goal wouldn't just be to win, but to make a statement by cutting Ilia's face open, breaking his rhythm, and forcing a stoppage through pure dominance. He repeated that he wants to smash Ilia with elbows, slice him up, and secure a TKO victory. For Arman, this matchup is personal, and he believes his grit and pace would be too much for Ilia to handle. Moving on to another news, Daniel Cormier weighed in on the growing tension between Arman and Ilia, and he didn't hesitate to make a bold statement. According to DC, Arman is the scariest possible matchup for Ilia right now, and fans of Ilia should be paying close attention. DC explained that with Islam now competing as the welterweight champion, the two best lightweights in the world are Arman and Ilia, and he said it's not even up for debate anymore. He praised both fighters, but he made it clear that Arman brings a level of danger that is hard to match. DC emphasized that Arman can do everything at an elite level. He's big, he's strong, and he has a powerful frame that allows him to mix up striking and wrestling seamlessly. Cormier highlighted how Arman's wrestling isn't just good, it's dominant, and his striking has evolved to the point where opponents can't focus on stopping just one part of his game. What really stands out, according to DC, is Arman's top control. He said that when Arman gets on top, it becomes a serious problem for anyone because he doesn't just hold position, he smothers, pressures, and breaks opponents down slowly. Cormier explained that Ilia fans should be wary because Arman is one of the few fighters who can genuinely replicate parts of Islam's style. He said that if anyone can push Ilia in the same way Islam pressures opponents, or even come close to that level of control, it's Arman. To DC, that's what makes this potential matchup so intense. Arman's size, strength, skills, and relentless approach make him the most dangerous threat Ilia could face at lightweight, and Cormier believes the fight would be a massive test for both athletes. Moving on to another news, the situation surrounding Jon Jones and Khamzat has taken an unexpected turn after a behind-the-scenes clip surfaced online. According to the man who posted the original video, Rizvan Idul Sultanov, Jones was not pleased with how the exchange played out. He explained that when Alfredo Auditor offered to put up money for an official match between the two, Jones accepted instantly, hinting that a real grappling match between Jones and Khamzat may actually be coming together. The post described the moment by saying, "Khamzat and Jon Jones tested each other's skills." In that brief exchange, Khamzat slightly got the better of him, and Jones didn't take the moment lightly. Sultanov claimed that Jones began yelling "no, no" loudly, refusing to accept even the hint of a loss. That's when Alfredo Auditor stepped in, offering to put money on the table for a legitimate showdown. No one knows exactly how much was offered, but Jones immediately agreed, giving the impression that he wants to settle things officially. Now, fans are waiting to see if this matchup becomes reality. During his visit to the Chechen Republic, Jones was treated like a superstar. People surrounded him everywhere he went, greeting him with excitement and showing him the kind of hospitality that only that region can deliver. Jones kept the mood light, laughing with fans, checking out cars, and joking around as he moved through the crowd. Someone reminded him it was the Chechen Republic, and he responded with a quick laugh and a nod, playing along with the energy of the moment. At one point, people brought out what looked like a contract, though it wasn't an actual signing. It was just for fun, a playful moment for the cameras, as Jones joked, "Not signed for, just pretend." Still, the symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. With the recent tension between him and Khamzat, the possibility of a real contract being presented in the near future suddenly feels much more realistic. Moving on to another news, the UFC Paramount card sparked a wave of confusion after rumors began circulating about a potential fight between Alex Pereira and Carlos Ulberg for UFC 324. The buzz started when Timothy Wheaton from Low Kick MMA posted on social media that he was hearing the UFC was aiming for Pereira versus Ulberg on January 24th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. He clearly stated from the very first line that the fight was not confirmed, but that didn't stop the MMA world from spiraling into excitement, debate, and chaos. The rumor spread quickly, gathering mixed reactions from fans who were shocked, confused, or simply eager to see Pereira back in action. The conversation escalated to such a level that Ariel Helwani had to address it directly on his show. He explained that he had also seen several posts claiming Pereira versus Ulberg was in the works for the January Paramount Plus card. According to Helwani, he reached out to multiple people behind the scenes, and everyone told him the same thing. The rumor was not true. He said the UFC's current hope is still to have Pereira fight Jon Jones on the White House card, not to book him against Ulberg. Helwani made it clear that no discussions had taken place about Pereira facing Ulberg, and that the online chatter had grown far beyond the truth. He went on to explain that he did previously mention Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes being discussed for the event, and that matchup still appears to be in talks. However, he also confirmed that Ilia versus Paddy is not being discussed for the card, despite some fans speculating about it. Helwani said that the nature of matchmaking means things can always change quickly, and the UFC could theoretically call fighters any day and reshuffle plans. But as of Saturday night and the following day, none of the Pereira versus Ulberg rumors had any validity. He wrapped up by saying that after checking in once again post-show, everything he heard remained the same. No Ulberg fight has been discussed. Pereira's main target is still the Jon Jones matchup on the White House card, and the online rumor simply snowballed far beyond reality.